Pro Wrestling Weekly. For over 20 years, the revolutionary force in sports entertainment radio talk.
Is cooking.
WBCB presents Pro Wrestling Weekly,
the longest-running pro wrestling radio talk show in the history of terrestrial radio.
And he's obviously Michael Cole.
Call in with a question or comment at 215-949-3232 or 888-922-2149.
You really do sound like a
grizzled old vet. Is that where you were going with there?
Yes.
To not get you in trouble?
Oh, I'll get in trouble at some point. Believe me, I'll do something.
Well, to keep you out of trouble in this case, at least.
And now, here are your hosts of Pro Wrestling Weekly, Fearon Derry and Lucas DeSangro.
Ooh, I'm getting good at this radio thing.
Yeah. It only took you 5.5 years.
I'm not good at it yet. I'm starting.
Yeah.
Only slightly.
Slowest escalator upward.
Shut up!
There's the sound of the bell, and we are set to go. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you all by myself, like the Eric Carmen song of the same name. No, not being given a holiday. In this case, Mitch is dealing with occupational obligations, and Twitch is dealing with unfortunate infections of the sinus nature. But that's all right. It gives me a chance to go over plenty that has gone on over the course of the week here. And I guess the first thing to go with here is, for those people who have been clamoring for the Attitude to return to WWE for the better part of the last 15, 17 years, something like that, you may have gotten your wish this past week. If you couldn't tell that things were a little different this week with Paul Heyman in charge of Raw and Eric Bischoff running SmackDown, you were certainly quick to find out. Monday Night Raw starting off with Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley fighting in a Falls Count Anywhere match that saw Strowman spear Lashley through the video wall entranceway and leading to some rather excessive pyrotechnic sparks, as well as an uncensored holy bleep comment from Corey Graves on commentary. Now, this is something that's always made me scratch my head. If it comes through clearly with tens of, 20,000 fans chanting the same thing, I'll probably put it closer to 10 because fans aren't exactly the greatest of chanting in rhythm. I know part of that is the acoustics inside the arena. You hear it differently than when it's being said. But if it comes through that clearly on the broadcast and you're not censoring that, it seems like a double standard. But I guess it's too much work to try to censor audible parts of the crowd than it is to just censor those who are on a microphone. I don't know. But either way, that's a whole nother discussion for another day about censorship and linguistics and things of that nature. We're just going to leave that alone for now. Then, of course, in terms of things being a little bit more attitude extreme and otherwise, there was a mixed tag match later that night with Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch facing Mike and Maria Kanellis. There appears to be a storyline of Maria emasculating Mike every chance she can get, starting with backstage when they had challenged Rollins and Lynch, Maria noting that she and her subservient, because again, word that I can't or at least probably shouldn't use, but rhymes with witch. Yeah, you can figure it out. Take on Lynch and hers. She would then go on to the microphone during the match stating that Mike assured her that he could mop the floor with Rollins, but she should have known better because he can't even mop the floor at home. And at one point, Lynch was going to strike Maria, and Maria yelled that she was pregnant. Mike ended up questioning how, and Maria responded, quote, "I don't know because I don't think you're man enough to get me pregnant." Yeah, we're definitely hitting some attitude here. Lynch then put Mike in her disarmer finish or submission hold, and Mike ended up tapping out to lose the match. And then Maria went on to further rip Mike, saying that the only man in the ring was the man, meaning Becky Lynch, adding, "Maybe next time I'll ask Becky to impregnate me." End quote. I don't know where exactly this is going. It's certainly something different for the sake of being different, but where and how does Mike get on the right side of this? That's the only concern that I have with it. It's very much a wait and see, but it's something different. It's definitely along the lines of throwing things against the wall to see if they stick. Raw also saw the reuniting of former Bullet Club members in Japan of AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson. A little, well, I'm sure they called it the Club, or they would call it the Club in this case, because, well, one, they don't want to necessarily mention things from other promotions, but it was obviously a big deal in Japan, and those three were certainly a part of it. Time will tell where Finn Balor falls in all of this, as he was part of that club as well. SmackDown, meanwhile, well, with Bischoff's lead, saw WWE Champion Kofi Kingston giving Samoa Joe the old number one, the half of a Stone Cold salute, before hitting Trouble in Paradise on Samoa Joe. So, definitely not family-friendly presentation. Definitely a little bit edgier, a little bit more adult-themed. I don't know if this is something that is just bits and pieces of fingerprints of Heyman and Eric Bischoff, whether it's perhaps turning things up a notch heading into Extreme Rules a week from tomorrow, which is going to be an arguably unforgiving crowd, as it's going to be in Philadelphia, the home of ECW back in the day. So there's definitely going to be an expectation when it comes to Extreme. So you have to wonder if that is part of what these changes are, or if it's something that are going to be sweeping forward beyond that. Now, one thing that hasn't changed from last week, at least as of yet, has been the awkwardly paced matches based on a decree that we didn't get the chance to talk about last week. A decree made by WWE head Vince McMahon that there would be no wrestling matches taking place during commercial breaks, which is why you've seen a lot of the restarts and 2 out of 3 falls matches, and we'll delve more to that in a moment. The reason behind the format change is because, this is according to a report, I believe, from the Wrestling Observer, legitimate sports like football and basketball don't allow the game to continue during commercial breaks. So because of this, we've seen a ton of best 2 out of 3 falls matches with wonky finishes that required a restart, and really, really short matches, and of course those restarts coming after the commercial break. Fans are not exactly thrilled about this, to say the least, as they feel like the overall quality, it's one of those things where a match is just getting started and it has to end because we've got to go to a commercial break. So you don't really have matches that you can get invested in to ride that emotional roller coaster, because the emotional roller coaster is almost more of a free fall, like the Tower of Terror in Disney World. What is it, Hollywood Studios, I think? So yeah, you just get the quick drop, and that's it. Your thrills are very short and limited. And I feel like Maria could make another joke there, but we're going to leave that alone. Now, here's some of the, I guess, other side to it here, and this is what a lot of people have been pointing out. One is that there are legitimate sports and competitions that do happen through commercial breaks. Now, the two that come to my mind are auto racing and golf, and it certainly could be argued as to whether or not they're sports, but that's a different discussion for probably a different station. But additionally, when you only have 8 to 10 minute blocks of time before a commercial break, you're hindering opportunities for great matches. You're limiting what can be done in that time. Again, you're used to those TV main events that would go a good 15, 20 minutes, and yeah, it's one of those stay tuned. You know it's not going to end during the break, and I guess maybe that's part of it as well, is that you know that unless something crazy were to happen, that they would not go with oh, hey, here's what you missed during the commercial break in terms of a match finish, as opposed to a replay of a great move or something along those lines. But perhaps maybe that's the trend is, okay, everybody knows that a match is not going to end during a commercial break, so let's just not have matches during the commercial break. I don't know. But somebody noted, this is an interesting factoid, that a week and a half ago on SmackDown, that it was the first time that there were 2 separate best 2 out of 3 falls matches aired on WWE television on the same show since the inaugural Royal Rumble back in 1988. That's right, 31 years ago. Which wouldn't be so bad if each fall took up a segment, but this is something that kind of grinded my gears a little bit this past week. The 2 out of 3 falls match between Miz and Elias saw 2 quick falls from, as I call it, hitting the proverbial triangle button, finisher, pin, then commercial, and then returning from the commercial break with the 3rd meaningful fall. So it almost... It defeats the purpose if you're going to have... And it kind of cheapens the wrestlers out a little bit. It's kind of hard that... To suspend disbelief that, all right, you just got hit with this finisher, and you're able to, in the matter of not even a minute, get up, recover, hit your finisher on your opponent, and be able to secure the victory. It just, I don't know. That, I think, was a bit much. They may have to go back to the drawing board on that one, but it just a little too much suspension of disbelief for my personal liking. Now, with all of these changes and the anticipation with the announcement of Paul Heyman being in charge of the writing for Raw and Eric Bischoff being in charge of the writing for SmackDown, time will certainly tell as far as what they do to the ratings long term, but the buzz surrounding the inclusion of Heyman at least provided an uptick in viewers. Granted, it's a very slight uptick, but it's still fairly significant in that it had a 1.71 rating, which was up from last week's 1.66 rating. But what that means is the average number of viewers went up a little over 200,000 viewers from 2.276 million to 2.496 million. So 220,000 more people on average were watching Raw this past week than the week prior. So there definitely was a bit of a buzz. Now, slightly fewer people watched SmackDown, only 1.89 million, down 31,000 from the previous week. But you have to figure there was probably some influence. It was July 2nd, 4th of July holiday, travel. So that may have reduced the numbers a little bit. But despite the low number, SmackDown finished first overall in the cable ratings in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic. So if they're looking to go a little bit more adult-themed, they certainly got the right eyes on the audience. Maybe there was a little bit of, oh, this is what Heyman did on Raw. Let's see what happens on SmackDown. And while we saw there was the old bird was provided by WWE champion Kofi Kingston. So there at least is that going on. And by comparison, the July 3rd, 2018 edition of SmackDown just crossed the 2 million mark of 2.013 million. So down from last year, about 100 and some odd thousand, which is a lot. But I don't know. It's certainly hard to say. So outside of that, there's still plenty more that we're going to get into here, including a hilarious social media gaffe on WWE's part. I definitely have to get into this because even though it's been almost a week since it occurred, there's definitely been a lot of reaction to it. We'll talk a little AEW Fyter Fest on the other side. Also, we've got a follow-up from last week's back and forth between Seth Rollins and Will Ospreay. It's a good follow-up. We'll let you know about that. Also, a wrestling organization having their first pay-per-view later this year. We'll tell you what it is and when that's going on. Also, a TV deal in the works possibly for Impact, and also a bit of a surprising story regarding a WWE Hall of Famer. All that, plus we've got room for your calls, your Facebook feedback, and a whole bunch more. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
Join former Phillies pitcher Ricky Bottalico and Tommy Green along with host John Brazier for the Baseball Insider Show presented by SEPTA this and every Sunday prior to Phillies baseball. For guest and location information, visit WBCB1490.com. It's the Baseball Insider Show presented by SEPTA this Sunday prior to Phillies baseball right here on 1490 WBCB and video stream live on Facebook and at WBCBsports.com.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done?
Over and over and over and over and over. Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You won't see termites crawling across your floor, but thousands might be devouring the wood in your walls, weakening the structure of your home. For over 50 years, termite proofing and pest control of the Delaware Valley has been in the exterminating business. If you think you have a pest problem, they're the experts. Call them today at 215-639-5455. That's 215-639-5455 for TPPC. Termite proofing and pest control of the Delaware Valley gives your home or business peace of mind, knowing your pest problem is in their hands. Located at 1560 Bristol Pike in Bensalem, they use only EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley at 215-639-5455.
Being in the Army National Guard is about more than serving your country. It's about being there for your community when your neighbors need you most. The Army National Guard makes college affordable, and serving part-time can help you graduate debt-free. Do you want to stay close to friends and family? The Guard allows you to serve close to home. Serving part-time in the Army National Guard lets you have the life you want. Learn more by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. Aired by the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters and this station.
See, I just got the Luigi death stare from Fearon, so he might have to...
I didn't give you the Luigi death stare. That's not true.
You're breaking kayfabe.
Breaking kayfabe. Gonna break something else during this commercial.
There we go. That's what I like to see.
And now, more Pro Wrestling Weekly with your hosts, Fearon Derry and Lucas DeSangro.
Are we getting into that controversy again?
I know how it feels and it's not fun.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, flying solo today as Mitch has occupational obligations and Twitch has unfortunate infection going on of the sinus variety. But I'm here. We've got quite a few things to get into. We talked over the course of the last segment about the impact, no pun intended, of Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff interjecting themselves into the creative process for Raw and Smackdown, respectively. And it felt like there was a little bit of attitude that was coming out because of it. And, well, that wasn't the only instance in wrestling that we've seen this past week where there was a turn back the clock moment. In this case, well, there was AEW Fyter Fest, which following the Darby Allin and Cody match that went to a 20-minute time limit draw, and still shudder at the one bump, the coffin drop as it's known, where basically it was a trust fall from the top rope right onto the apron that Cody had moved out of the way of, and Allin ended up landing pretty much spine first right on the apron. I still, if you're one of those thrill seekers, go ahead and check that out, but it's not pretty. How he was able to continue from that, I have no idea. There are things that boggle my mind. So that was a little something new, but a little something old. After that 20-minute time limit draw, Shawn Spears, you might remember him as the former Ty Dillinger over in WWE, he entered the ring and smashed Cody in the head with a chair. Well, where the issue is that Cody absorbed the full brunt of the blow head on and didn't put up his hands or anything to protect himself. So people were losing their minds. Oh, unprotected chair shots. Don't they know any better? Is this an example of what they're going to be? You would think that an owner who owns a football team and knows all about the concussions and CTE and everything. Oh, the internet was very angry, to say the least, and for the most part, rightly so. I'm not by any means somebody who is going to advocate, oh yes, more chair shots to the head, please. No, that's definitely not by any means what I'm noting here. But I mean, there were some people who were really bent out of shape, as if somebody just like spat in their face or something. The internet, calm down. Go look at kittens or something. Kittens are cute. They're cuddly. Puppies too. Not the Jerry Lawler kind. We're not going there. But AEW President Tony Khan, he did address the chair shot after the fact, stating, quote, "I don't know if this is the time to go into detail about what happened, but we had taken precautions in this situation and that specific situation. A doctor was available, and Cody does not have a concussion," end quote. Now, he also added, and this is a rather interesting line, "You could build the safest airplane in the world, but if there's pilot error, there's pilot error." So I guess something didn't go according to plan. I know that one of the Young Bucks had said that the chair was gimmicked. How that works, I have no idea. I mean, it's not like you can make a chair out of aluminum, for example. I still recall that from my naive days in going to an ECW show up here in Bensalem, and I guess I had a kind heart even back then as I was showing concern for the wrestlers, so I brought something that I thought would make the impact but not provide a whole lot of damage because it was being used toward the head. It was, I know Shane Douglas was in the match, and I forget off the top of my head who it was against, but Shane Douglas, he had taken, I had one of those, it was essentially a pie plate. You know, aluminum pie plate, you know, the just real flimsy, and I thought, okay, maybe it'll make the sound and people ooh and ah, but it pretty much crumpled upon impact, and Douglas kind of looked at it almost disgusted and just tossed it behind his shoulder away. But, I mean, I don't think you can really do that with material to make a chair, so you have an aluminum chair that crumples upon impact. So how exactly that works, your guess is as good as mine. But between that and the main event between Jon Moxley and Joey Janela in an unsanctioned match where it was very heavily emphasized that this was not a PG version of Moxley, as the match involved blood and a bass drum and guitar and barbed wire and thumbtacks, among other things, definitely shows that this is not the Dean Ambrose that you cheered in WWE by any means, that this is the Jon Moxley that you saw before he made it to the big time. Now, in another, I guess, an AEW WWE connection, and I'm sure the conspiracy theorists are going, oh, see, they're in cahoots. Because, yeah, there's been a little bit of that. But this is still a hilarious social media gaffe. WWE's Instagram had noted on Monday night that NXT Tag Team Champions Street Profits were on Raw. However, instead of typing out the word R, A-R-E, if you look on a keyboard, if you happen to accidentally type a space over, instead of A-R-E, you happen to have A-E-W. And that's exactly what happened. So the post said, quote, "The NXT Tag Team Champions AEW here on Raw." Whoops. Now, Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks, he had posted the typo up on Twitter with the caption, autocorrect. So, now you have to wonder, was this put up by somebody's phone? Did they, do they do a lot of talking of AEW, that their smartphone was a little too smart and autocorrected the word R, which is very commonly used, to AEW, which apparently for that individual is very commonly used? I don't know. It's an interesting question, and who knows what kind of answer we'll get on it. Probably none at all, because I'm sure that the individual involved to take the line from Monty Python was probably sacked, or as Vince is used to saying, fired. Yeah, not doing that again. We'll leave that to the experts here, because I like having a throat. How he does it, I have no idea. But hey, it works for him. That's what makes him as self-beloved as he is, right, Vince?
I'm a genius. I'm brilliant.
Now wait. Out in, I'm trying to figure out here. Maybe it's because of the so Jack Spears, who's going to be filling in for Ted Efall here on the country roads coming up in a little over a half hour. He walked by and gave me the thumbs up, but I'm not quite sure to what it was about. So I don't know. Maybe he'll come in a little bit here and elaborate, because I don't know. I missed it here. We'll see. Maybe that could be something for the third segment. Who knows? Yes, but the autocorrect. You never know where things are going to go from it here. And in some more social media hijinks, a follow-up from last week's back and forth between WWE Universal Champion Seth Rollins and international sensation Will Ospreay. Rollins issued an apology on Twitter for their recent social media exchange. Now, for those who missed it, Rollins had hyped WWE as the best wrestling on the planet prior to the Stomping Grounds pay-per-view. And, well, he stated to find anyone else alive who does what he does as well as he does it as often as he does it. And Ospreay ended up tweeting a simple response of, "I'm alive." And it went back and forth from there, but Rollins went proverbially low by suggesting to compare bank accounts, because comparing bank accounts is a true value of how good of a wrestler you are. I mean, I see where he's going with it, in that, hey, I'm in the big time and you're not, but Ospreay still has a lot of time on his side to get there. So Rollins, with a little bit of remorse, tweeted, quote, "After a few days to sit on it, I'd like to apologize to Will Ospreay for the tweet I sent his way about comparing bank accounts. It was dumb of me and not in line with my values. The moment I pressed the send button, I knew it was trash, but I'm too stubborn for my own good. I stand firm in my sentiments that WWE is the best pro wrestling on the planet and that I'm the best of the best doing it right now. After a hell of a week of travel, our crew didn't waver for a second. Top-level humans busting their bums for the love of the game. I couldn't be more proud to be a champion with this company and represent WWE and the entire industry in the way it deserves. No more garbage tweets. I can and will be better." That's good to hear. That's very nice and borderline corporate-y statement on Rollins' part. But when you are carrying the flagship title, you have a little bit more decorum that you have to follow. And Rollins, well, he's got some pretty big shoes to fill. Granted, he's the Universal Champion, and Kofi is the WWE Champion that has the lineage, but apparently that's all you need. I don't know. Now, Ospreay, to his credit, he responded positively to the apology on Tuesday, stating, quote, "Apology accepted. Just buy me a Nando's. Honestly, nothing but respect for you, sir. Just a bit of banter in my mind. I followed your career since you were Tyler Black. I know it's not all the money, and it's about the love. Keep flying your flag and having fun," end quote. Now, I'm sure that most of you are curious out there, what exactly is a Nando's? Well, I was wondering too, so I looked it up. Nando's is a South African restaurant chain specializing in peri-peri style chicken dishes. And that sounds delicious, but there's not one super duper close to here, as the closest one is just north of Baltimore. Yeah, apparently these restaurants are only in the Baltimore and Washington, D.C. area, as well as the Chicago area of the United States, so going to have to be a little bit of a road trip to be able to get some Nando's, but nonetheless, still not too shabby. I'm still trying to find out here as I look through the window. Maybe now Jack will make his way in. I guess he's got a little bit more attention as he has some sort of a chicken, although it doesn't look like peri-peri style. That's for sure. Maybe I thought he was making his way in here, but no. Okay, he's just going to tease the listeners like that. Got it. Alrighty. Well, moving on here. Impact Wrestling. They are negotiating a television deal with AXS TV, according to a Voices of Wrestling report. Now, the deal hasn't been finalized, and thus no official announcement has been made, but it's an interesting move if it comes to fruition, as AXS is currently the home of the weekly New Japan Pro Wrestling television show, as well as the WOW Women of Wrestling television series. So a lot of wrestling being crowded onto the AXS network from a few different sources. And there may be one more here if all holds true with this. And another wrestling company that's making its way up, stepping up a little bit here, Major League Wrestling. They had told Sports Illustrated that they will be holding their first pay-per-view event later this year. It's called MLW Super Fight, and it'll be held on Saturday, November 2nd in Chicago, Illinois at Cicero Stadium. and will be available via all cable and satellite services. The CEO of MLW, Court Bauer, telling SI.com, quote, "This is a chance for MLW to make a statement. We want to give value to our fans. That's why we're charging only $19.95. Which might be a little bit of a jab at AEW with their Double or Nothing pay-per-view being a $50 price tag. Certainly hard to say. But, I don't know, people read a lot into a lot of different things, and I'm certainly no exception to that. Also, WWE, they're going to be taping Raw and Smackdown on Friday, November 8th in Manchester, England at the Manchester Arena. Now, Raw was originally scheduled to be taped in Glasgow, Scotland, and then it was moved to Leeds, England, and now it's been moved to Manchester. Now, the belief is that WWE is planning its return to Saudi Arabia around this time, and that's what's causing all of these schedule changes. Almost, I guess, a Saudi shoehorn 2 possibly in the works based on all the movement that's going around. We'll see. Now, all of WWE's Saudi events under its 10-year deal have been held on Fridays, but as we noted previously, WWE's television deal with Fox is expected to force WWE to move the Saudi shows to a different day of the week. Well, that is a new development, as I know we had speculated on, well, what's going to happen when you're, for lack of a better term, serving two different financial masters here. And I guess it's a matter of which one's going to win out, the corporate Fox or the governmental Saudi higher-ups. It looks like in this case, at least for now, although there's plenty of time for things to change, but apparently it looks like that Fox is going to win out with their $200-something million per year, as opposed to the Saudis' roughly $40 million per event and 2 events per year. So I guess the higher bidder in this case is Fox, so it's the old golden rule. They have the gold, so they get to make the rules. And everybody else is just following it, I suppose. We're going to go ahead and take care of our second bit of business here, and we'll come back. We'll have Today in Wrestling History on the other side. Also, we've got room for your phone calls. We might hear from Jack on the other side. We'll see. It's got me scratching my head as to what his reaction was about earlier. Maybe we'll note a little bit of that. And I know I haven't talked about them much as of late, but that's because they've been working on reopening. Our good friends over at the Broken Goblet Brewery. Well, they are making their way toward Goblet Stock 5, which is a week from today, as they've been setting up the new location, and boy, is it fantastic, over at 2500 State Road in Bensalem. They've got 50 beers that they are releasing for the Goblet Stock 5 event, and I can't wait just looking at quite a few of these here. But yeah, check them out, Broken Goblet Brewing, and maybe I'll see you there next week after the show. That might not be a bad trip to make, just saying. So yeah, all that plus more stuff here on Pro Wrestling Weekly on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
The life of a Philly sports fan is a wild ride. Some years we triumph, some years we trust. What never changes year after year is how we get to the game, shoulder to shoulder with our fellow fans on SEPTA. On the way to the tailgate, the tip-off, face-off, or first pitch, the Broad Street line takes us from our homes to our home fields and back again. Yeah, the life of a Philly sports fan is a wild ride, but win or lose, we ride together. Get your ride started at iSEPTAPhilly.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Lee Piccarello, inviting you to tune in every Friday morning at 8 a.m. to The Head Game, a must-listen show for athletes and coaches of all levels and ages. Mindful Athlete Training in Newtown, Pennsylvania is a mental circuit training program that prepares the athletes to perform at the highest level of today's game. Athletes get into the zone faster and stay there longer. Tune in every Friday morning at 8 a.m. right here on WBCB 1490 AM and throughout the world at WBCB1490.com.
All commentators heard on WBCB express their own views. Their opinions are not necessarily those of others on WBCB, including the staff and management.
What a night.
Parks Casino and Sportsbook. Online sports betting is live in Pennsylvania. Place all your favorite sports bets all at the click of a button from anywhere in Pennsylvania. Parks Casino and Sportsbook has you covered. Sign up now and get a risk-free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit. Go to parkscasino.com/fan and use the promo code SPORTS to get your risk-free bet of up to $250. Bet with the best online at the #1 casino in Pennsylvania, Parks Casino and Sportsbook. Street Road exit off I-95 of the PA Turnpike. Risk-free betting refunded. All losses a free bet. Must be 21. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
WBCB is starting its first ever Summer of Fun. Make sure the summer is a splash by tuning in to WBCB 1490 for your chance to win some free summer swag. Listen in Fridays between 2 and 3 p.m. to win cool gear and tickets for super fun activities in Bucks County. That's each Friday with Nick Gallagher for the afternoon drive from 2 to 3 p.m. for free summer swag right here on WBCB.
Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, July 6th. On this date in 1985, the NWA held its Great American Bash pay-per-view. In the main event, Dusty Rhodes defeated Tully Blanchard in a steel cage match to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 1997, the WWF held its 16th In Your House pay-per-view, titled Canadian Stampede. In the main event, Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, the British Bulldog, Owen Hart, and Brian Pillman defeated Steve Austin, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, and the Legion of Doom in a 10-man tag team match. On this date in 1998, WCW Monday Nitro aired live from Atlanta, Georgia. In the main event, Goldberg pinned Hulk Hogan to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 2015, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from Chicago, Illinois. In the main event, WWE United States Champion John Cena defeated Cesaro in an open challenge. This has been Today in Wrestling History, July 6th.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you all by myself, or something like that. I'm no Eric Carmen, that's for sure. No, Twitch is dealing with a sinus infection, and Mitch has his occupational obligations. But one person who is here, he's getting ready to bring us down the country roads in a little bit here, is Jack Spears.
Taking a bit of a detour today with Ted out, me stepping in today, and next week too.
And next week too, yeah. And, well, as I was going over something here, you'd walked by and given me the thumbs up, and I was like, what in the blue heck is he giving me the thumbs up about? What
that clip, you're fired, or whatever it is. Do you have that clip pulled up? That just
the Vince, you're fired. Oh yeah,
I can't do his voice like that. But
well, yeah, it's because you want to be able to save your throat. But I mean, there's something about Vince McMahon and that epiglottal,
just fall out of my chair.
Yeah, there's just something about it, and that's something that's developed over the years. But I mean, he had bits of it even way back when in the 80s and early 90s. It just kind of developed more and more over time, and I feel like to a point it's almost taken over his own voice, as I don't think he can have the same smooth, dulcet tones that he had as a play-by-play commentator in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
You now gave me an idea for my show. Whenever I'm talking about an artist who got kicked out of a group and telling the story, I could
just tell him.
Love that drop.
Yeah, that's
just don't let Jim Foxwell get his hands on it.
Well, I mean, when it comes to drops, I mean, from what I've been told, he uses a lot of the early Lucas drops very frequently, and he's been waiting for me to bring more, which there's just so much to sift through. I mean, he is the kid is a treasure trove of unintentional comedy. And it works.
It does.
How, I have no earthly idea, but it works. But no, to give you an idea, here's some. I'll pull up this one here, even though since I do use it on the rare occasions where I do. Well, actually, not so rare occasions where I play some Aretha, for example. Vince McMahon this was from 1987, WrestleMania 3. He had introduced Aretha Franklin, who sang "America the Beautiful" this was March in 1987, and you can tell that he even still had a little bit of it there.
And now, the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin!
Yeah, you gotta play that in like the intro of like "Freeway of Love" or something like that.
Oh yeah, and I've used that for. There are a few of those. There was one from a year earlier where he introduced Ray Charles.
Wow.
Yeah, early on, WrestleMania was
And Ray Charles.
Yeah,
That's something.
The initial WrestleMania from '85 had celebrities. It was a definite hodgepodge. I mean, you had Muhammad Ali as a guest referee, which. He was a referee for the main event between Hulk Hogan. It was Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, which that's another celebrity involvement because Mr. T was white lightning hot in 1985 in terms of popularity. But yeah, they took on Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff in a tag match. But yeah, you had the guest referee of Muhammad Ali. You had the guest ring announcer of Billy Martin, who was then manager of the Yankees. And you had the guest timekeeper of Liberace, who came out with the Rockettes.
That's something.
Yeah, I mean the celebrities. I mean, I could do a whole show just on the celebrity involvement in WWE. I mean, right now we have a WWE Hall of Famer in the White House.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, and there have been some rumors going around, and I hate talking too much about rumors, but there's rumors going around that Fox, since they are going to be carrying the SmackDown program starting this fall, I believe starting in October, they are trying to talk WWE and Vince McMahon into a bit of a coup of seeing if he can talk the WWE Hall of Famer into making an appearance on that debut episode of SmackDown Live on Fox.
I'm not even a big wrestling guy, but I would probably watch that just for the entertainment value. Honestly.
Just to see what's going to happen when now President Donald Trump makes an appearance on WWE television, if that occurs.
Yeah,
I have to use that just for those tuning in at the last minute. They just hear, wait, President Trump appearing on what? No, that is a rumor that is going around, and that's something that Fox may want it, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get it.
Yeah.
But again, the number with enough zeros, anything can happen in the WWE. That's for sure. No, it's mind-boggling some of the involvement, but Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight over the year, from WrestleMania 4.
As kind of as someone who's not a big wrestling guy, my biggest Vince McMahon memory is I was watching a few years ago on YouTube the debut of the XFL. When he was, I think he was commentating the game on NBC with Matt Vasgersian at the time.
Oh gosh!
Like, people leave jobs, people leave families. They don't get paid one nickel because this is the XFL or something like that.
Well, I mean, we've used this on many an occasion. It is. So hopefully one of these days, hopefully or not hopefully, we'll be able to hear this once again.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the XFL!
Love it.
Yeah, that was circa 2001, and 19 years later, history is going to repeat itself.
Well, I'm going to watch it. Maybe for one game, and then I won't watch it again.
Well, that's what happened last time. Yeah. I mean, the intrigue kind of started in the beginning, and it's like, all right, I've seen it. Let me move on to something else.
It was the same thing with the AAF, and they couldn't even pay their players to fly home.
Yeah, we talked about that because it ties in because they were trying to be direct competition for the XFL, and B, it was headed by Charlie Ebersol, the son of NBC head Dick Ebersol, who initially worked with Vince McMahon to create the XFL 18 years ago. And Charlie Ebersol was heavily interviewed as part of the, I believe it was ESPN 30 for 30 documentary, This Was the XFL, that led to a lot of the rumblings of bringing it back. I don't know, nostalgia or something along those lines.
For that 1 week in winter of 2001.
Well, no, I mean, it lasted a full season.
It did. Oh, yeah, they did.
It did go a full season, which is more than the AAF can say. Tug at the collar on that one a little bit. But and it even brought their champion from that year, the... Oh, gosh, I should know this. Los Angeles Extreme. The quarterback of that team ended up having a pretty decent career with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Tommy Maddox.
Wow. And, oh, yeah, I remember his name. And there were also quite a few other, like, NFL players that came from the XFL.
Well, probably the most infamous was Rod Smart, better known as He Hate Me.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Because that was the thing with the XFL was you could put whatever you wanted on the back of your jersey.
Cool. That was pretty neat.
As long as it wasn't, breaking FCC rules, of course. So you can't put any of the words that you can't say on TV or radio on the back of your jersey. I don't know. Maybe if I don't know. The only way you could probably maybe get away with it is if you talk about a certain type of mushroom. Yeah, you know where I'm going with that. That might be able to get away with it.
We have the dump button ready if we need it.
No, I have used that thing sparingly over the 10-plus years that I've hosted this. I try to keep it that way.
Never had to use the dump button. I'm going to knock on wood because hopefully I don't have to use it again. Wherever. Again
for the first time? Is that where you were going with that?
I never had to use the dump button.
I've never had to use it, and I hope to never have to use it again. Yeah. That was very Yogi Berra of you.
My mind's going all over the place right now.
So it was almost a Yogi Berra-ism right there. It's getting late early or something along those lines. Yeah.
It's getting late real early.
It is. In fact, it's getting late early with the show here. We're rapidly coming along to the end here, and I was thinking about it before you came in here. The Today in Wrestling History thing, that In Your House Canadian Stampede, that was very peak pre-Attitude Era WWF at the time. I mean, the Hart Foundation and all their members were white hot. It's amazing to think that only 3 months after that, Brian Pillman would pass away at the age of 35. And then the unlikely team of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, and Hawk and Animal. Wow, and I'm looking at it here. I mean, of that group of 10, the only person still alive on the Hart Foundation is Brett, and then on the other end, well, at least it's a little bit. Only 5 out of the 10 of them are still with us. Bret Hart, Ken Shamrock, Steve Austin, Goldust, and Road Warrior Animal. And that was just 22 years ago. My goodness. All right. Long tangent coming back from it here. We've got a couple other things to get into. One, it looks like WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler's Dinner with the King podcast was done away with after it was discovered that former co-host Glenn Moore had allegedly scammed fans out of thousands of dollars, promising them commissioned art pieces by Lawler and merchandise on his website. Now, Lawler issued a statement on those allegations saying, quote, "I'm sure many of you have heard that some of my fans have been taken advantage of through a dishonest scheme that I was never aware of. Let it be known that I am not doing art commissions, nor do I have any memorabilia for sale. So if someone promotes or advertises or contacts you for services on my behalf, it is not legitimate. I am working to get this unfortunate situation resolved as quickly as possible, and I apologize to my fans that have been affected by this," end quote. Now, Lawler also announcing that he has a new podcast premiering soon. He had said on Twitter that The Jerry Show will premiere sometime in the next week or so, and his co-host will be Sean Reedy of the Booking Memphis with Jerry Jarrett and Memphis Memories with Randy Hales podcasts. Lawler tweeting on the new show, quote, "A lot of people have been asking what's happened to my podcast. Well, it's coming back in about a week as The Jerry Show with my buddy Sean Reedy 16. See you soon." Because you have the Twitter @ and whatnot. Made sure to @ him, as the saying goes. Also, ahead of the show airing on WWE Network next week, the card has been revealed for Evolve's 10th anniversary celebration. The Evolve Dragon Gate USA anniversary event will be the first non-WWE wrestling show to air live on the WWE Network. And it'll be taking place here at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. next Saturday, July 13th, and will go head-to-head with AEW's Fight for the Fallen. Way to sneak in there and try to take some of those viewers. It's very Survivor Series 87 of you, Vince McMahon, as that's what he had done to basically stronghold against those who were going to try to watch Starrcade. Vince basically forced cable promoters to do one or the other. Either Survivor Series, either the NWA or WWF, but you can't have both. And he also leveraged saying, well, if you don't pick up Survivor Series, you're not getting WrestleMania 4 next year. And most of the companies relented. But yes, some involvement from WWE. NXT champion Adam Cole, he's defending against Akira Tozawa. Also, Matt Riddle's going to take on WWE Cruiserweight champion Drew Gulak in a non-title match. And then Evolve champion Austin Theory takes on WWN champion JD Drake in a winner-take-all match. Title for title. And also of note on the card, a couple of former Factory guys. Josh Briggs against Anthony Green. Certainly should be a goodie. Well, we're at about that time of the show where I believe it would be... Wow, Jack actually mouthed it from the other room. Birthdays! If he were in here, he probably would have said it and I'd have another new drop, but he doesn't feel like getting up and coming around. Plus, not a lot of time for it. So, only one inside of the world of wrestling, and man, is this a stretch. Not a whole lot of birthdays from July 6th, but I didn't want to go way back to Vincent J. McMahon, Vince McMahon's father, or Vincent McMahon Sr., as he's known. So we had to go with this one instead. On this date in 1946, Michael Sylvester Gardenzio Stallone was born. Yeah, that one. The actor, director, screenwriter, and producer, best known for his self-created role of Rocky Balboa in the Rocky movies, as well as John Rambo of the 5 Rambo films, and mercenary Barney Ross in the 3 The Expendables films, who also inducted Hulk Hogan into the 2005 WWE Hall of Fame and has also made some other appearances on Monday Night Raw. Known professionally as Sylvester Stallone, he turns 73 today. Yeah, wow. And the Brucey bonuses, things outside of the world of wrestling, because we like to expand our horizons a little bit here. So we've got 5 this week. Firstly, on this date in 1937, Ned Thomas Beatty was born. The retired actor known for his performances in Network, Friendly Fire, and, well, best known to me as Otis, the bumbling assistant to Lex Luthor in the first 2 Superman movies way back in the day. He turns 82 today. Also on this date in 1937, Eugene Drake Dixon was born. The singer, songwriter, and music producer known for his most successful songs Groovy Situation and most notably #1 hit, Chart Topper. You can hear it Saturdays from 6 to 8 here on WBCB. Shameless plug. Duke of Earl, known professionally as Gene Chandler. He turns 82 today as well. Also, this one, well, we're going to get a little more official for this one. On this date in 1946, George Walker Bush was born. Yeah, that's right. The 43rd President of the United States, serving from 2001 to 2009. He turns 73 today. On this date in 1975, Curtis James Jackson III was born. The Grammy Award-winning rapper, singer, songwriter, and more. And probably an artist who I doubt you'll ever hear here on WBCB. Known professionally as 50 Cent. Turns 44 today, and Jack cracking up at that through the glass here because he knows I'm right. And finally on this date in 1979, Kevin Darnell Hart was born. I probably could have made this a wrestling one, but nah, that's even more of a stretch than the Stallone one. The stand-up comedian, actor, and producer from such hit movies as Ride Along, Get Hard, Central Intelligence, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and Night School. And he's also a frequent co-star with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He turns 40 today. Man, where does the time go? Well, also of note, real quick, Slammiversary is tomorrow, the Impact Wrestling pay-per-view. You'll see Brian Cage defending the Impact World title against Michael Elgin. Also, Rich Swann defends the X Division Championship against Johnny Impact. Also, Rob Van Dam takes on Moose. You'll have TJP's Open Challenge. Tessa Blanchard takes on Sami Callihan. All that and a whole bunch more, including a Monsters Ball 4-way match for the Knockouts Championship. Should certainly be a goodie. Oh, and also the Impact Wrestling tag titles on the line. The North defending against LAX and the Rascals in a triple threat. So, I know we haven't talked a lot of Impact, but, I mean, it's their big pay-per-view, and a lot of people concerned that there haven't been any TV tapings scheduled for after the fact. I think they're just kind of getting things together. But that's going to do it for me. Coming up next, Jack Spears with the Country Roads. Until next week, play us out, Nutsy.
1 o'clock in all's well.
Serving you better than ever before. This is 14.